Humanities, the podcast that we've kind of got that we're back to again. This is my friend Patrick Stardust.
The podcast we've kind of got.
Yeah, which we always like doing, but if we don't have conversations like this and record it, we just end up having these conversations anyway and then go, oh, I should have recorded that.
Yeah, oftentimes things come up that, you guys miss, and it's like, oh, man, we should have told everyone that, but now it's too late and the magic's gone.
You've got a cuppa, haven't you?
I have a cup of tea in my hand, yes.
How do you have your tea, sir?
I have my tea. I have some hot water, some cow juice, and a tea bag, and then I mix it up, and I take out the tea bag. You were going to ask me what kind of tea bag, weren't you?
Yeah, what kind of tea?
What kind of tea? I am currently using Tesco tea.
Jesus Christ. Times
are hard.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's not actually that bad. It's surprising. Did one of those blind taste tests. It's like, it was actually okay.
I'd have thought you'd have at least been a Yorkshire tea boy.
I do like Yorkshire tea, but the thing is, we're still working through the massive box of tea we bought for the wedding.
Okay.
We're still working through lots of the things we bought for the wedding. There are still 9 bottles of Bucks Fizz in this house.
Uh-huh.
It's Christmas sorted at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you drinking?
Hi, I'm CJ. Thanks for the invitation.
Who are you?
Podcast. I am drinking Starbucks espresso Christmas blend, done in a mocha pot, but ground for Turkish brewer, because I've got a mocha pot and I was doing it to metal filter, but I tried it to Turkish blend this time, which is the finest grind that you can get for the coffee. So I have this delicious cup, which I've yet to really delve into, but the fineness of the grind brings out all the oils of the coffee, so it feels almost like you've got lip balm on. It's beautiful. And I've got it in one of my brand new Arrow mugs, as in Arrow, the TV series that was bought for me by my friend Natasha for my birthday. I'm going to try the coffee live on air, because I haven't had a sip of it with Turkish brewer yet. I shall mute the slurp.
Go for it. See, now the thing is, while you were saying that,
hold on.
You know when people talk about football?
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, I am a coffee nerd.
Metal filter? What?
Right, okay. On a coffee grinder.
Oh, we're really doing this. Okay, yeah, go for it.
We are really doing this. On a coffee grinder, you've got different settings that go up to French press at the top, which is your cafetiere. You know the cafetiere? That's
like a pot that coffee goes in, right?
Yeah, and you leave it to for 4 or so minutes, and then you push down on the plunger, and it pushes the coffee grinds down to the bottom, and the coffee rises through it. So there's French press on the top, and then on the bottom is Turkish, and between those goes from coarse to fine grinds. And within those you can have things like metal filter and paper filter, and different ones for different coffee machines.
Okay.
I got a mocha pot recently as a gift from my dad, and a mocha pot is like a kettle that sort of screws in the middle, and you've got you fill the bottom part with water, and then you add kind of this almost like a colander with like a spout that goes into the hot water.
Right.
You fill the top of that filter with coffee, and then you screw on the top part. And the top part's got a funnel inside it, and basically the hot water at the bottom of it heats up. It pushes the hot water through the coffee in the filter, and then up the spout inside the kettle bit, and it all sort of comes out, and it's really beautiful. But I'd been using I did Turkish grind for my dad's mocha pot when I went to see him sort of last year, and it was gorgeous coffee, but he said that it kind of clogged the machine up a little bit, but so that's why I went back to metal filter when I got mine. But the coffee was so nice. I'm gonna have this now, and then I'm gonna dive into the kitchen and kind of and clean it out. So right, I'm gonna have I hope that didn't go over your head, because I am an absolute nerd for this stuff. And Starbucks espresso Christmas blend is a really dark, sweet coffee. You really get the flavour of the coffee cherry in it. as well as the oomph. So
it didn't go over my head. I think I might need to watch a YouTube video of pictures of it, maybe, because it does sound a little bit Transformers.
Yeah, I do love my coffee. You know this. It's not just like, oh, I really like going and having a latte with some syrups in it. I do really love my coffee. So I'm going to do the slurp.
Do it.
Muted.
No, let's hear it. I want to hear the slurp. Do it.
Okay, right. There is a way of tasting coffee as well, like coffee.
Wow.
No, I mean properly processing coffee. Okay. Like you cup your hand over the cup, and
right.
You take in the smell of it, and you process the different sort of scents and flavors, and how it ignites the mind first, and get the senses tingling, and then you sip the coffee almost as if almost in the way that you'll see people with wine on TV. So you slurp the coffee so it hits sort of the flavor centers of the mouth, and then process the acidity of it, and the way it bleeds across your mouth, the way it feels, it tastes on the top of your mouth, and sort of your jowls, if you will, underneath the tongue. And different coffees have got within the roast and the way you prepare them, and I've got different strengths, different sweetnesses. They go really well with different foods. So yeah, I really dig that sort of stuff. I'm not the world's greatest knowledge on it, but I'm really, really passionate about it.
You're kneeling down at the moment, aren't you, on a little Japanese mat? You've taken off your shoes.
I wish I was, but
There's
I am going
some ginseng nearby.
I am going to do the slip, so
do it. Oh, that was a satisfying noise.
It's really dark, and it's quite bitter under the tongue. Like you can tell with the Turkish roast that it is really, really oily, and sort of after that initial burst, there's a real almost like buttery quality that kicks in. And I think that as a compliment, if you had this with something like even like a chocolate cookie, and the milk chocolate would go really well with the darkness of the coffee, and the butteriness of the coffee would wash in between sort of the little biscuit bits, and as it softened, the sugar and the sort of buttery taste would complement the coffee. So that would work really well in of itself. But as a coffee on its own, it's quite moreish. And I noticed it was quite sweet with the metal filter. So it's a little bit more bitter within the Turkish grind that I've done. But yeah, I shall see how it goes. And coffee also changes flavour the more it cools as well. So I shall process that as we go along. Yeah. Hopefully, I've not turned anybody off. But if anybody does want to buy some coffee,
this is a show about video games, honest.
Yeah. But as a lead-in, because I got this arrow mug from my friend Natasha.
I was trying to work up to that. Yeah.
From my birthday, we met,
didn't we? We the second annual visit, I think that, isn't it?
I'd just like to add, I've just had a proper mouthful of that coffee, and it's exquisite.
He's like this in person as well.
Yeah.
we for our second time, you may remember I went up to visit CJ this sort of time last year, and we did it again.
It wasn't. Wasn't it February?
I can't remember. Was it? It was a while ago.
Yeah.
Oh, whatever. Okay, I went up. Yeah, fine. Our 10 monthly visit. I don't know, but this time I brought the wife up to the north, and we got to the hotel near where you live. And
make it sound like Game of Thrones. It's just like, if you see a ginger going past that wall.
Honestly, in the hotel, we went in. I went in to check in, and one of the first things that the lass on the desk said was, 24-hour reception, so if you need out, just tell us. I said, she said out, and I've only been here a minute. Wow. Like the last time I came up, and that lady called me duck like 4 times.
I was going to say, there was a thing in the newspaper that Angelina Jolie's been acting with a guy from Derbyshire, which is where I live, and he's taught her the local saying, "Ay up, me duck." which for people in America or elsewhere who are going, what now? A up me duck is a saying hi, how are you? It's a local thing. I've never quite really understood it, but it goes across Nottingham, Derby. I probably wouldn't say Leicestershire. It's probably a Nottingham and Derby thing. Although my friend Matty was saying that because he's from Leeds, you're like Matty from Leeds, and he said that one of the things in Leeds is to refer to people quite favourably as cock.
Yeah.
And he was getting off the bus the other day, and he went to the bus driver, just went straight into it. He was like, "Cheers, cock." And
I've done that.
The bus driver went, "What did you call me?" He said, "No, I didn't mean it like that."
I've done that on buses. I've gone, "Cheers, cock," and just walked off.
Really? But you're not from the north.
No, but I'm amused by the ability that I can call someone a cock and get away with it. So
you need to move to the north, and then that would be fine. But yes.
That other northern saying, "All right, shitbeak."
I'm not.
Very endearing up there, I hear.
Yeah. But you managed to get a hotel about a street away from my place.
Literally 30 seconds walk. It was ridiculous. Which is fine. It was like 30 quid, and they gave us breakfast as well. And it's like, get that anywhere else.
And you arrived with the biggest cake that I've actually seen in my life.
Isn't it? Yes, we decided to bring up one of the lovely cakes that we actually ordered. We got them in for our wedding. And you get them from Costco. That wonderful sort of bulk buy, what's the word I'm looking for here? Cash and carry type place you go to. Costco. These cakes are literally like over a foot wide. They're
that is the biggest cake that I've ever seen.
They're mighty, and they weigh, like they actually have weight to them as well.
Considering that at that point I was still sort of on the tail end of the surgery stuff, and I didn't have much of an appetite at all, and you were essentially feeding me massive triangles of cream.
Yeah.
It's like a Victoria sponge, wasn't it?
It was, yes, a nice squishy Victoria sponge, and the Costco cakes were always very nice. We didn't even get round to it. We didn't get round to a lot of things, did we? I don't think we played a single video game.
Well, we did.
We did. We played one.
No, well, you
sort of.
You kind of annoyed me a bit, didn't you?
Oh, actually, no, you annoyed me a bit.
Right, let's get this out of the way.
All right.
Are you inverted or are you not?
Regular type.
Yeah. When you...
I'm normal. You're inverted.
I know I am inverted.
I'm normal.
When you press up on a camera in a game, it goes up, doesn't it? And
yes, I want it to go up, and then when I press down, I want it to go down.
So, and I wasn't fucking about with the changes. So it was really quite sick inducing to.
Honestly, I was trying to climb around the little cathedral, and I'd go to look up, and it would go and look down. And I'd be like, "What? Wait, what? Where?"
But what else were you trying to do, Pat?
I was trying to jump off stuff.
No, what else were you trying to do, Pat?
I can't remember.
What did you try to be affectionate towards, and then see if you could kill?
Oh, the dog.
Was it a dog or was it?
I think it was a dog. Yeah, you can usually pet the dogs these days. And you walk up to the dog and you press the circle button and nothing happens.
Well, you forget that, or perhaps didn't know that apparently there are 3 different teams working on Assassin's Creed games, and all of them hate each other.
I know, but why would you not have dog petting? It's the loveliest thing. Because then all I ended up doing was taking cover and crouching behind the dog.
Because it is France!
Although I did like his hand going out to kind of put his hand against the wall that was a dog. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm hiding just behind this dog, and just give him a little tickle behind the ear so he stays put. No one will see me coming.
You were trying to do that, and then you were trying to kill him, weren't you?
I did try and kill the dog because I couldn't pet him, and haven't got that much tools yet, and it was just...
My response was, my Arno doesn't do that. I had to take the pad off you at that point. But
given time, I could have made him do that. Indirectly, I could have killed that dog.
Because you had a bit of a mess around with the jumping stuff and the climbing.
I climbed. I tried to fight some guys and failed.
Well, you did the climb up and climb down thing as well, which is kind of cool.
Mm. When the climb down thing works, it looks really good. Like it does kind of put your heart in your mouth slightly, though, doesn't it?
Well, it's one of those where if you get to a ledge where you have to drop, you have to drop. But if you get a clean run of sort of wandering down the side of a building that's full of windows and ledges and stuff, that's where you do it. But if if there's a place where you have to drop, it will refer to the drop button. But it kind of gets there in that regard. But yeah, what did you make of the fighty stuff?
The fighty stuff. I think I was slightly hampered by the invert.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to spin the camera around and it was going the wrong way, which was resulting in me not paying attention and getting stabbed up the face. It felt a bit more dangerous than it's been for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's because I didn't get to play the tutorial and I was a little bit... again, the Xbox pad, I don't instinctively know what button is what on the Xbox pad.
Let me break it to you.
It's been a while since I played an Assassin's Creed game, so I'm kind of a little bit out of practice.
There is not a tutorial.
Really?
You know how there's the famous thing where it's saying like, oh, the first few hours of Assassin's Creed 2 is all tutorial and sort of building you up to the main game.
Dodge, press B, motherfucker.
It pretty much drops you straight into it, which I really appreciated, because a lot of the fun for Unity for me is experimenting with stuff and eventually arriving in areas where I was out of my depth, but I could go there straight away if I wanted to. And if I was a level 2 at that point, I ended up in a place that was level 4. Eventually, I'd start getting people that were a good class better than me, sort of fighting wise, occasionally. But when I first started out, if there were any more than 2 guys there, I really had no joy fighting them, because you've not got that magical super hop skip that I've had in Assassin's Creed before. That if you've got a distance between you and an enemy, you have to roll out of the way, or you have to move. You have to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And it took a little while to get used to, but I really like the heft of it.
Yeah.
I really like that it feels heavy.
Have you been upgraded much since? Because when we played, I think he was still just wearing a shirt, wasn't he? And he had, I think his weapon, he had a sword. That was it.
Well, yeah, it was just that initially, but I've upgraded quite a bit since then. But
how are you finding the combat now? Can you deal with it better? Can you have you become a swirling whirlwind of death yet?
I'm big time a swirling whirlwind of death.
That's good. When you click with that, that's one of the best parts. I know a lot of people don't get on really with the general fight flow of Assassin's Creed games, but I've always enjoyed it when you're sort of stuck in a circle. There's 7 or 8 guys around you, and you just stand there. You don't need to attack them. You just wait. Right? Come on, then, fuckers. Who wants it?
It's not as out of my hands as I felt with previous Assassin's Creed, because I played the first one, even though the story was bollocks. I finished it and I enjoyed it, and I've tried to get into games previously, and it just hasn't clicked with me at all. But I remember on those initial tries on Assassin's Creed and Assassin's Creed 2, it always felt like the fight was a little bit out of my hands, that everything was kind of a dance that I was more or less just kind of nudging into a little bit. But with this, there is genuine weight to the combat, and I will say this and have weight to my statement as well.
I think I know where you're going with this, but go for it.
It's the best combat since Demon's Souls.
What?
And I loved Demon's Souls for the fact that when you swung your sword, it felt like your life depended on it. The exact point that you timed that swing was important. And obviously when we met up, I was still kind of in clogs and a shirt. But at that point, I hadn't really done anything other than the opening mission. I'd just buggered around Paris and sort of fought people and opened chests and explored. And I'd done loads of the little side missions in Paris, like the one where I might have mentioned this on the last episode, but there was one where both sides within the revolution were getting paranoid about this book, and nobody knew if the book was real or not, but both sides were paranoid enough to want it. And when you got into it, it turned out the book was written by Nicholas Flamel. and it was about the Philosopher's Stone. I was like, fucking hell, it's a real guy. I knew it from the Harry Potter stuff, but I didn't know it was actually entrenched in history. And little things like that. The city was a huge character in the game for me in itself. I loved going into a big crowd, and a shotgun would go off, and you'd see some people look confused and some people run away, and it just felt. I mean, you saw it when you walked through it. It feels like a city.
There's lots of people.
Yeah, and
lots of people.
So I quite like the fact that I wasn't being funneled towards the story element like constantly. I could just mess around and just get a feel for it.
Yeah, they do that. You do that generally. The later ones in the series have let you do that. They just say, mission's over there, if you want. I'm just gonna go climb up stuff for a bit, and it's like, all right, whatever, do what you want. I like that. I like that it gives you the chance to explore and find your feet a bit in the city before just funneling through the missions with no choice. It gives you a bit of chance to experiment and improve your skills, not just your gear. Like, you can improve how good you are at it just by wandering around and thinking, right, okay, there's a bad guy there. Wonder if I can take him out without being seen. Let's have a go.
Well, I was having loads of problems with if I got sort of a couple of sort of sword guys, or say a sword guy and an axe guy, I could take them out sort of pretty reasonably. But if there was more than two there, I was having trouble initially, because the axe guys in particular will just. They're very difficult it's difficult to counter the swing of that axe. You have to roll out of the way and then catch them off guard. So you have to use their momentum against them. You can't parry them.
I think Black Flag had that as well.
Yeah, and the sword guys, when you can parry them, there's like a little bar that will go to yellow. But I've been into, because I'm about level 3 now, I think, like on my assassin rating, but I've been into level 4 areas, and there are people that I'm fighting that they've got swords, but they're not going into yellow, they're just flickering into orange, and I'm having to chuck down smoke bombs and sort of overwhelm them in other ways. I'm not really able to. Probably not skillful enough to counter them yet. But it's still great fun doing that. And throughout all of it, I hadn't been beyond the first story mission, which my heart was all over because it was very Romeo and Juliet, and it slowly drew me into this web of intrigue, which I really, really loved. I like Arno as a character, and I like Elise, I think her name is. And yeah, the second mission was the one which kind of gets you kitted out in all the assassin's gear, and there's a very Devil May Cry meets sort of Batman, sort of almost like a vision quest that Arno goes on as he becomes the assassin. He sees his father getting murdered again, and he's trying to run towards him, and all the building is going skew whiff, and he's breaking around him and stuff. Really, really excellent stuff. And after that, the nice thing was that when I was kitted out with the assassin's outfit, because I'd done so much around the city, that I loved the city so much that I was doing all these little missions and opening chests and finding sort of artifacts and stuff. I had tons of money, so it just meant that I could upgrade, and I could get some decent weapons pretty quickly.
Get a little head start. And
yeah, well, I picked up I went from the opening sword to a mace. And the mace had got like a real kind of a dirty sort of hit down on a cabbage type crunch, and it was awesome to use. And especially there's one finishing move where he just like jumps onto his right leg, leans in with his left hand, and punches a guy in the face, and then smacks down on his head with the mace. Like afterwards, I was like, oh, that's awesome. And I eventually replaced that with a katana, because I quite like the idea of running around Revolution era Paris with a Japanese sword. And the katana's good fun to use and stuff, but it's not kind of got that delicious meatiness that the mace has got, and also the finishing move with the katana is stabbing someone through the neck, which is brutal as fuck. Maybe a little too brutal, but I kind of miss the brutality of the kind of
I think you do find that with the different games have that sort of thing to them. I mean, I remember particularly Assassin's Creed 3 gives you loads of options, like, you've got swords and maces and all sorts of shit. I literally used the tomahawk and nothing else because it felt like right. It felt like the thing you were supposed to be using. As like a sort of Native American type guy, it didn't feel right having a sword. It felt like, no, I'm going to use this fucking axe, and I'm going to stick this axe in this guy's head, and it's going to be glorious. And it was. It was always, because lots of things you kind of hook it in people's heads and kind of fling them about. It was magic to watch.
Yeah, I just kind of liked my Arno sort of wandering around the city with a mace, and especially because there's loads and loads of customization you can do on the outfits as well. But the
subtle, stealthy mace assassin.
Yeah, well, I eventually got him in this in this forest green color, which just meant like I was cutting around Paris looking like Arrow. There's not really much that's stealthy about it when I'm sort of clad in the 3 colours of green leather, carrying this mace. But I will literally, if I see anybody that I can fight, my Arno is no fucking about whatsoever. So yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I know that the internet, from the off, I've enjoyed it. And I haven't really experienced that much in the way of bugs. I'm playing on the Xbox One version, but it seems to me the internet has rallied around this the sort of burning corpse of, it's not 60 frames per second, it's not 1080p, it's not better on PS4 than it is on Xbox One, it's bugged to fuck. Let's slag Ubi to the nines for it. And yet, here's this game that I'm flat out adoring. I'm in love with the city. I'm really enjoying the story. It's just fun to lose myself in, and at a time when Christmas shifts, especially, are going a little bit bonkers. It's kind of nice to boot up something that's even sort of can be a little bit story heavy if I want it to or not, but I can just flat out enjoy it. And also, I tried out the co-op missions as well for the first time, whereby. Instead of having the multiplayer mode that there's been in the previous games, you'll say meet a figure on a rooftop who will announce that there's a co-op permission, and you can it will try and find people for that specific mission that are looking for it at the same time, or you can go and make yourself available for any mission. And just join up with other people. So you can join up with a maximum of 4 people.
That's quite useful.
And the best one that I did was there was a mission where there was someone on the other side of the revolution who was selling secrets to the Austrians because the Austrians wanted to invade Paris. And you had to, that was your primer to go in and sort of assassinate somebody. But the start of this was you're going into a palace, and there was a sort of garden maze that you were going through, like being stealthy as fuck and sort of taking out all these guards that were inside the maze, and it was amazing, and no pun intended. But you kind of lose yourself as well as anything else, so you were trying to find your way into this palace, and most of the guards thereafter were outside the palace or in the early rooms. And the great bit was, it came to the final assassination, and it was just the person that I was going for and one guard, and I'd say about 2 or 3 minutes of me and this other guy doing that crouch run, going through a completely silent palace. And it was amazing. It just felt like you really shouldn't be there, and that you were the angel of death or something. But it was absolutely fantastic. And I know that the likes of Gav Weir from You Died, who did an amazing article on it recently, myself, Kate Gray from OXM, and Joe Scrabbles have all been jumping up and down about how much we've loved it. And Jim Trinker, his stuff on Video Game was the catalyst for me buying it in the first place. But it's a great game. I genuinely love it. And my only sadness about the game is that the people that I do know that have got it are playing it on PS4, and I got the Xbox One version, so I can't do the co-op stuff with them, because you can kind of build a little club, if you will. Oh, and God,
apparently I've shown up in Gav from You Died's club. I don't have it.
Yeah, I think it shows the people that are on your friends list, and you can kind of presumably.
It's definitely not wearing what I would have worn.
Presumably sending a nudge to say go and get the game. But what made me laugh is there's a bit where you can restore an old cafe, so and you can take the money that you've got and generally sort of do up a number of the floors, and then you reveal ways that you can get back into the cafe, like maybe an underground route and different floors above where you can see your different outfits and things like that. And it just made me laugh at a certain point that I went up to the cafe bar, and Arno just started having this espresso, and I was like, yeah, this is why I like this game. This was waiting for me. But it's great. I absolutely love it. I'm double smitten with it. So
nice.
And you,
I'm still a way off of getting close to it yet. I mean, I want to plow through Mordor first, and obviously I'm waiting for a good price on Unity as well, because you got that crazy deal, didn't you? Where it's like 25 quid for the pair of Unity and Black Flag, which is frankly mental.
They've broken them up, and it's gotten cheaper since.
Still mental, like triple mental.
They're now selling, I think, Black Flag for £6.50 as a download, and Unity's going for about £13.
If you're listening, get Black Flag, you fools.
Go to
get them both, but get Black Flag as well, because Black Flag I think it might be my favourite of the whole series, and that's big words from me.
Well, the thing is that the codes I got, because I got them through posterbargain.co.uk, but they were linking to eBay, but the Xbox One codes, because the codes, it doesn't matter what system you're on, they're kind of region free. They were American codes that I got. So if you are in America and have an Xbox One, there's some crazy cheap prices going out there. But the other gaff from You Died ended up picking it up because of what Gav Weir had said and what I'd said at the weekend. So I need to sort of catch up with him and stuff. But I love it, and I think if anything, this year has been the year when I've kind of reacted differently to the hive mind of the internet, and I'm completely fine with that. What bothers me is people that are sort of rallying around this wicker man when most of them don't have an informed opinion.
Yeah, play it, then slag it off.
Seriously, how many games have you played which are maybe imperfect, and maybe there might be a bit of screen tearing, maybe, or there's something about them that's not there, but there's ambition there, and there's something that really speaks to you and something that really grabs you. And I, up until seeing that vid of Jim Trinker's, I had no interest whatsoever at getting Assassin's Creed Unity, and I was my curiosity was piqued. So I was like, maybe. And then I saw that deal that I ended up getting for that on Black Flag for 26 quid.
You have to, don't you? You see a price like that, you've got to jump. The same reason I got Mordor. It was the 25 quid a game, and it's like, well, we've clearly got to buy that now.
Well,
the cheapest. Like the same with Ground Zeroes popped up for 7 quid on the PSN. It's like, for fuck's sake, just buy that.
I mean, I've got a little stack of games that are going to be, because when Bloodborne and Dark Souls 2 comes out, I think those are going to be my next two games. But I've got a few games that I either picked up by cheap prices or birthday money that I'm going to sort of stagger for the next few months until then. So I've got, with some money that my dad gave me for my birthday, I got Dragon Age Origins, which everybody seems to be raving about at the minute.
Do you mean Inquisition?
Yeah, why am I saying Origins?
Wow.
Dragon Age Inquisition, and the reason being for that, not only the people jumping up and down, but I've watched a few streams and just got a little flavour of Dragon's Dogma about it, and that is obviously quite important to me. I've got Mordor as well, because I ended up getting it a little bit cheaper than you a few days ago.
Yeah, you said.
And I watched a stream of someone playing The Evil Within the other night. After listening to Chat and John and a few people sort of quite enjoying it, Game reduced the special edition down to £22.50.
That's not bad.
And I got a couple of games. I got one game that I finished and one that I wasn't really asked about, and just looked on the game website. I could get £18.50 for them. I was like, yeah, I'm going to pay like $3.99 and I'll get that. So Christmas a lot of the time for me has been all about survival horror games. I had no idea why, because it is just me. And at a time when things are very family orientated for most people, I usually find the bounce between birthday, Christmas, New Year, and the dark mornings, dark evenings. I struggle with depression a little bit, and for some reason, like years ago, I finished Resident Evil 4 at Christmas, and as much as people talk about Santa and Jesus, like one of my big guys for that time of the year is Mike the helicopter guy, who I never did get to have that beer with. Who you shot up all those zombies and then one of them turned up with a rocket launcher and took out his helicopter. The sadness of Mike the helicopter guy. But I finished Dead Space. I played Dead Space to pieces and finished that over Christmas. And I kind of got the impression before watching the stream of Evil Within that it wasn't for me. And when I saw this stream, I was like, oh, this is Resident Evil 4 to fuck. This is ace. And I used to be all about Resident Evil, like the early games and stuff, like 1, 2, 3, the GameCube remake, Zero. And I haven't really scared myself for a while. So I was like, yeah, for the sake of having two games that I could get £18.50 for, and then paying $3.99 more, I was like, yeah, I'll fucking have that. And it's a limited edition as well, with kind of the detective's wallet in there and stuff.
Nice.
So yeah, I went for that. But
I think that deal's gone now.
No, it's still on.
Ooh.
Still
okay,
on
I know what
store.
I'm doing when we're finished.
Seriously, like £22.50 for The Evil Within. I'm all over that, like it's made of ham.
That's what Resident Evil 4 again. Brilliant. Sort of, kinda.
Yeah. So essentially, if you are getting that, which I hope you are, that means that maybe in a future episode we can talk about Evil Within and Mordor, and we can be playing them at the same time.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
That sounds like far too much planning.
Plus, there's a nice little segue.
Ooh.
I did mention that Inquisition gave me a few of the flavours of Dragon's Dogma, and you have been Dragon's Dogma-ing it like a motherfucker. Tell me about what's been going on.
Right. Well, yeah. Like I say, I'm continuing playing it from when I was talking about it last time. Obviously, I have other games to play, but Dragon's Dogma currently isn't letting me play them in the true Dark Souls fashion.
Oh, welcome to the year that it stole away from me.
I have games and it's not letting me play them anymore. Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with it. I've been leveling up a bit more, completing Wyrm Hunt quests, Wyrm, Wyrm.
What class are you playing as?
I am still playing as a magic archer right now, because frankly, it's too much fun to not be a magic archer.
That is the one where it's like ching.
Yeah, it's the homing arrow of brilliant, and you just hold up your thing, and it goes ching, and you fire what feels like a billion arrows at the sky, and they all just rain down upon everything in front of you. Especially funny if it's rabbits.
Okay.
Ching, ching, ching. I got a random quest to kill like 45, so I just kind of wandered about in the bit outside of Cassidis, your sort of hometown, just tagging rabbits with this thing and watching them all just go at the same time.
Have you not been tempted to change up the classes? Because as soon as I'd maxed one out, I'd change one to I'd try another class and then balance the rest of my pawns around that.
Well, I'm very near to getting to the top level of it. I think I'm one of the red pips away from being the best of the class you can be. And frankly, I'm enjoying it so much I don't kind of want to.
Yeah.
I've unlocked a few more cool arrows. My one regret with the game is that I can't have more than 3 special arrows at once. I've got my six-fold arrow, which is one that shoots a blue one that then bursts into 6 once it's hit. Kind of does a nice little sort of Catherine wheel twirly effect. I've got the rain of arrow, ching, 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 attack, and I've also now switched out my flare, which was useful.
Oh, magical flare.
I love magical flare, but I've switched it out now. I was doing a lot of daytime travelling. I thought, well, I don't need this at the moment. I switched it out for, I believe it's called something like explosive nail.
Okay.
And what that does is it shoots an arrow, or 3, as I've got it to the point, that stick in an enemy, just flaming away. And nothing happens until either you or one of your pawns attacks it. Upon that point, it explodes.
Oh, honestly, that game and the way that it works, weapons is incredible. There was the one for I think it was the Strider class and the variants of that where you kind of cut an enemy with the knife and the knife would insert gunpowder into the wound, and then when you pulled the knife away, there'd be like a ching, and then they'd like boom, they'd knock them back as all the gunpowder ignited and stuff.
That's the one I've been using as my third.
Oh,
I love it. I'm still sticking with Scarlet Kisses or 100 Kisses on the bag as well, which is just the stab, 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 stab.
But that's isn't that one spinny stab, spinny stab, spinny stab?
It's stab, 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 stab. You sort of stand still and just kind of swinging your arms back and forwards, and it always finishes off with a little roundhouse kick. And yeah, it's good to show people who is the boss with the back of your foot.
That was one of those things, early on in the game, when you get overwhelmed, you're like, oh my God. You get to a certain point where you'll use that sort of thing, and then it'd be like, yeah, bring it. I'll have all of you. I'll find a way. I'll be like Dr. fucking Dot.
Come fucking get some.
Yep.
But yeah, I've been mixing my pawns around as well. I always try and have at least one of each class-ish. So obviously I'm a Strider type. My main pawn, Flufflepuff, is a warrior.
Yeah.
And I always try and mix in at least one wizard to kind of heal. And then the third one will be a floating point for whatever takes my fancy at the time.
Yeah.
Usually, one of my friends' pawns, because I've got a point now where I've got a lot of them that are kind of similar-ish sort of levels.
Okay.
So I've got one that's about level 27. There's one that was level 33. I've definitely got a 40 waiting for me soon as well. So I'm basically sort of swapping those out. The rule I'm setting myself is around 3 or 4 levels away from my own level.
Yeah.
No more than that, because any more than that feels a bit like cheating. Which means I'm still a way off using your Optimus Prime.
Okay.
But I can feel myself getting there, not soon, but I'm making good progress. So I'm mixing them around and getting used to the many myriad of ways that they can say, strike the tail! Because I get that now.
Yeah, but the thing is, I genuinely never tired of the chatter. I mean, you can make the pawns quieter with the kind of golden chair bit.
You can, but other people's pawns will not be quiet.
Yeah, it just didn't bother me. It just raised the smile, like, so it's weak to ice and fire, or whatever it might have been.
You do learn like which one of your pawns are dumb though, because you'll hear them say it's kind of weak to fire, and your knife will glow like black, and you're like, this isn't fire. Why I want the fire though, and everyone else has got the fire, but not you, and you're like, but give me the fire though. Oh man. So you have to kind of just muddle along in the back, shooting arrows from a distance, which is it works.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can muddle along with whatever you want to your pawns to do, or that's the fun of changing up classes, because a lot of the time you get into a state where you know the game inside out, and you know what you'll do at any given point, and when you're then weaker, and say like when I went initially from Strider to the kind of, I can't think of the name of it, the sort of big bruiser type sword and shield
Oh, just the fighter, isn't it?
Yeah, fighter. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, uh, Whereas my instinct might have been to hang back and sort of crack in with a few arrows,
Hmm.
I couldn't do that then. I didn't really have much in the way of moves yet for that class until I got stuck in. So I was in it. I was really thrown out of my comfort zone, and that's it. It brings back the tension from when you when you first encounter enemies on the one hand, but on the other. Um, when you then get the bigger enemies turn up, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
It's not a degree of kind of even, you
But
get,
they'll have ideas though. The pawns will have ideas about that.
yeah.
They've Pawns have saved me a couple of times now with ideas. There was one point before I forget about it. I have to tell you about this one. One of our listeners, actually, a guy called Styles Tyrant, who I'm now friends with on PSN. I brought his pawn along, who's called Lucatiel. And looks like Lucatiel. It's Lucatiel. It's completely Lucatiel. And we were heading along to a place I'd never been. Obviously, the fog of war on the map. You've never been there before. And I'm running along thinking, well, where do I go now? Because I've had a few moments where I've been like, I need to go over there, but I don't know where the hell I would start. And she went, this way, master. It's this way. And just runs off down a path. I thought, oh, okay. And just followed her. And it was right.
I love that about the game. I love that you can somebody can go into a different world and come back with that information. It's not even as if they're just borrowing a husk of a character or the presets that you've given it. That there's that back and forth. There are so many aspects to this game where it just feels next gen. There are so many brilliant ideas and.
I kind of wish I'd played it at the time because my pawn kind of feels a bit like an idiot compared to everyone else that I've hired in.
Honestly, I would have.
My pawn doesn't know anything.
I would have loved to. You remember me at the time that I was playing that? I would not shut up about it. And it's nice to see that it's grabbed you in the same sort of way. Oh, and also the best clothes in any game ever.
Swear to God, right? I turned it on to play about half an hour the other day. 2.5 hours later, half that time had been spent comparing hats. Literally sat there going, that hat's slightly better, but it doesn't look quite as cool as the one I currently have. And then looking at my pawn's hat and going, well, it kind of hides the hair, but it is a good hat, and I need to find some buckets to upgrade it with, so I went looking for buckets. It was mad. When you think, am I losing my mind? I just spent an hour looking at hats.
Because you see, I got a female character that I'd set up for Dragon's Dogma, and I think this more than any other game that I've ever played, the rule was, does it look pretty, over is it got better stats? Because if you're saying that there's like a black waistcoat or something that's got, say, 200 protection. There's one that's like 180, but it's a really long, beautiful red coat with sort of slightly blue sleeves and like a rough. I'll go for that any day of the week.
Of course you do. Of course you. My main character, Bogfirst, I've named him after what I had for dinner that day, is still wearing hot pants and fluffy boots. Still, from the very start of the game, I thought, well, we're hot pantsing this. When you see an option, you're like, well, that's happening. And then the fluffy boots very shortly afterwards. Well, that's the look.
Because you see, the game absolutely nailed, and I wish Destiny could kind of accept both sides of itself in this sort of way. But it's scary, it's thrilling, but it also loves to fucking laugh at itself.
Yeah.
And the fact that it does that does not take away from the fact that it can be genuinely terrifying.
Case in point, I met the Duke a couple of days ago. And you meet the Jester just before you meet the Duke. Yeah, and he puts something on your head before you go in. And everyone just looks at you, and you're like, what? Is there something on my head? No. And you just look like, I've never seen my pawn look that oblivious. It's like, come on, you're smarter than that. Just put your hand on your head.
Have you put your pawn in a dress yet?
I have not. I've had him in a long coat once, but it kind of hid the fact that he was wearing hot pants, so I had to take it back off again.
Putting him in a dress. Not only does he look beautiful, but there's an achievement for it.
Wow. I haven't found a dress yet. I don't think.
Well, really?
I don't think I found a dress. No, I found like an outfit. I haven't found a dress yet.
I'm sure I bought that in Casadas, maybe.
That's how
What's the kingdom called? I can't think of its name.
The kingdom?
Yeah,
Grand Soren.
Grand Soren, yeah, I'm sure I bought it in Grand Soren.
Oh, I'm gonna have to have another look then, because all I buy is manly clothes and hot pants.
Do so. He looked lovely though, because I called him Optimus Prime. And I was dressing him ordinarily to look as much like a robot as possible.
Yeah.
So he was this samurai-looking, red-armored, like blue head, long ponytailed samurai beefcake, and then to see him with his lovely blue hair in this rather fitting dress, he still looked kick-ass, but with a degree of feminine wiles. Now, on the subject of Dragon's Dogma, there was a thing the other week where the Dragon's Dogma website, for the first time in like about a year and a bit,
wasn't it?
Put up an update saying like, would you like a sequel to something like Devil May Cry or maybe a new Dragon's Dogma? And everybody went, whoa!
Yeah.
And this was on the back of Dan Marr put out a tweet saying that something to do with Capcom. There may well be a sequel that will make a few people on his timeline absolutely burst. And whilst that could have been Street Fighter V, soon after Dragon's Dogma Online was registered, and I'll state this now: if there's a chance of you and I cutting about Grand Soren at the same time,
honestly,
with our pawns,
it would be perfect.
Even if that's a monthly subscription,
fuck it,
right? I've no problem about that at all. That would be. Because
I was thinking that's what it needs. It needs me and mine, you and yours. Perfect.
Well, if you think of all that game did on PS3 and on 360. You know, the vastness of the world, and it is genuinely a world to walk through and adventure in. It feels like a proper world. I remember that at the time people complaining about the size of the map when they saw it. It's like, have you played the game? It's fucking massive.
Yeah, things are farther away than you think they are. I placed my first port crystal a couple of days ago. I've got like 3 somehow. I don't know why. I always thought you only ever get 1, but I found like 3 of them so far.
Did in the original game. I think they tweaked it a little bit for.
Oh, okay. Well, I've got a couple now. I've placed my first one right near. Do you remember I was telling you about the baby dragon?
Okay.
Yeah, I've put it near there. Because every now and again I just want to scare the shit out of myself for a bit. Because that thing still kicks my butt. Like 20 levels higher than it was when I first went there. It is still kicking my ass.
Well, the bit where I think you realise that the map is massive is when it's the first point where you have to really scale the right hand side of the coastline, and you think the marker is pointing away at what looks like ocean, and you sort of go out a bit, and then if you follow the coastline around it, eventually it curves right round to the right-hand side.
Oh, I've seen. I know which place it is. I've not been there yet, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, like a broken-down palace, and there's something big to fight there.
Like a coliseum in the distance.
Yeah, it's a beast of a fight. It's amazing, but the journey to getting there, you feel genuinely worn when you arrive. Like you just want to kind of hunker down. And that's the way a game should be, to instill this degree of, rather than just be like, oh yeah, I'll save, or I'll do this, I'll do that. It's just, for that degree of, I've arrived at the destination, but what's around the corner is awesome. And especially, I arrived at night, so yeah, exactly.
Even better.
What a game! But I'm wondering if Capcom are actually now figuring out just in exactly the high regard that a lot of people think of the game, and it may be just even if they're just exploring what they could do, Christ, even if they did a HD like upgrade, and I'd be happy as Larry.
HD remaster, plug in the online idea. Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. Done. Don't change it. Done.
So yeah.
Like it. So yeah, that was Dragon's Dogma has been going really, really well for me. Except trying to fight that goddamn dragon, because I sort of got there and I sort of went, Laura, look at the dragon over there, that one there. Hasn't seen me yet. I think we're safe. And then almost on cue, it starts walking towards me from miles away. I'm like, fuck this, and just ran.
The game's got awesome lighting as well, though. And if there's the point where you see that wandering through the forest, and sort of you get the blistering red cutting through the shadows of leaves and sunlight, and you're kind of looking into the distance, going, "Is that? Oh, fuck!" And it's an amazing feeling.
Or the point where you hear one of your pawns shout, "The dragon!" And you're like, "Where?"
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah. Happens to me with griffins all the time. I never see them coming until someone shouts, "A griffin!" And I go, "Where?" And turn around, and it's literally just turned up an inch away. Like, oh, it's here. Oh, I'll get my arrow out. Ching, 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 ching.
Right. Well, on the
fucking griffins.
On the subject of Dragon's Dogma and our little chat about it last time, we did get 3 bits of feedback,
which I haven't really read yet. So bring them.
Right. Let me see. The first piece of feedback was from Jeff from Washington State, who said, "Hi, CJ and Paddy. I'm a listener from Washington State, USA. I've been listening to your podcast for about a year now. Great job. Always love hearing your enthusiasm in gaming," which is kind of cool. Thank you, Jeff.
Can you say "great job" like a Washington person would say it?
I don't know how.
Oh. Challenge failed.
Do you know?
Great job.
I'm sorry about the Jeff.
Sorry if that offended you.
Please keep listening. He said, I love Dark Souls, but my ears perked up when you started talking about Dragon's Dogma as well. I have a fun little story. Me and my brother-in-law have been playing video games for years now, but he lives about 300 miles away, so we play on Xbox Live, usually Halo co-op. My wife gets a little creeped out at how similar we are in taste, quoting movies, etc. Well, I picked up Dragon's Dogma without knowing he already owned it. I was about 4 hours in when I told him about this new game I was hooked on. He said, "Oh, sweet, I'm playing that game right now. You should use my pawn sometime." I told him I already had a pawn that I picked up, that I really liked using her, but would try his eventually, as I didn't really know how to find a specific pawn of someone's just yet. A couple of weeks later, he came over to visit, and I was playing Dogma while my wife was watching. He started talking about his pawn again and how hot she was, etc., etc. I told him he should check out the pawn that I picked up while walking around Grand Sora, and he freaked out and yelled, "Dude, you have my pawn!" My wife was stunned and mortified as usual, and to this very day, we still yell at each other, "Dude, you have my pawn!" It never gets old. From that moment, I was more than hooked. And I have one of those stories that is legendary as long as you have as long as you game yourself. Love the show as always, you guys. Keep it up, Jeff from Washington State. Oh. But that is really cool, and I sort of forgot really that you can go into the void and get the pods and stuff, but you can just see them walking around. It's kind of weird.
My favourite is when you see the naked ones.
Where
someone's gone out of their way to make them nude, but still have like a giant great sword.
Mm-hmm.
Just wandering around and, oh look, there's a naked midget with a sword bigger than, what? No, just keep walking. Just don't look. He might make contact. But I like that. It makes it feel like, again, you're like a living world. Or sometimes I have kind of attacked them by accident.
Mm-hmm.
But they never take it personally. It's nice. They're like, "Oh no, so I thought you were a bandit. I do apologise."
It is kind of a little bit heartbreaking sometimes that. Sorry, I've just hit on a video. It is kind of heartbreaking sometimes when you let a pawn go, and then you just see them running by you one time, and you're like, "Hi,
I remember you.
What are you doing?"
It's been nice kind of going through my friends list as well, because obviously the friends ones come up first when you go to the pawn menu. It's been quite nice sort of just going through and kind of just sending away the massive ones. No, I need someone less good than you. Go. You'll do. And you kind of get a nice little vision into the eye of someone's perfect partner.
Mm-hmm.
In your case, a 8 foot tall robot.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it just seemed right. Also, my way of my way of thinking, right?
You know
And
what this game about dragons needs? A
this,
robot.
this, this actually played out. Was my way of thinking was you earn rift crystals every time your pawn is borrowed. Yeah.
Yep.
I thought if I had a pawn that had a name rather than Angela or Freya or something like that,
Yeah.
if I had a name that was recognizable, that
Right.
people would click on that pawn going like, oh, Optimus Prime, I love Transformers.
So,
And
like, if you named him like Batman or something, that's
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that played out because people obviously clicked on it, saw that he was a red and blue bruiser of a chap, and you know he was borrowed a lot. I made a lot of money, a lot of rift crystals from him being borrowed out and stuff. And obviously, the further other people went to areas that I'd not been, I then got the insight as well. So that was double cool.
Cool. I'm quite stingy about rift crystals. I don't want to spend them.
Mm.
I want to just use the ones that are exactly the right level. I always feel like, oh, I don't want to spend them. I just want to use people that are perfectly the right level or slightly lower.
I think I went, the maximum I went was if I got enough rift crystals, and they were, you did get less of them in the original game, I think. But I think the most I'd go was about 10 levels higher, and then I'd kind of match those levels as I just for sort of one pawn that I was bringing in, and then I'd match those levels as I slowly got up to it, and then went a little bit past it. So it would save me in the long run, and possibly get me through a few nippy areas as well. So, right, our second piece of correspondence is from Daniela de Tennis.
What? De Tennis?
Yeah.
Superb surname.
Absolutely. Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah.
I recently started playing Dragon's Dogma again. I got the game about a year ago, and I really enjoyed it at first, but after a while it started to feel too much like Skyrim for me, and I lost interest. I kept hearing the game mentioned with Dark Souls, especially the DLC. Decided to try it again after seeing this video, and she linked to YouTube video by Vegeta311, which was the Dragon's Dogma for the Souls player Bitter Black Challenge. Which I must admit I've not watched yet, so I will delve into that. So I started a new character and went straight to Bitter Black Isle. Oh,
can you even do that?
Blooming heck.
Like, the option has always been there when I've been there, but like I didn't think that was a sensible thing to do.
God.
Okay.
It's been a lot of fun so far, and it adds a lot of strategy and stealth to the game. Right now I'm stuck at the Gazer boss at level 20. If I still can't beat it after fully exploring the areas I can get to, I might go back to the main world to gain some experience. Anyway, if you're looking for a level 20-something pawn that's actively level up, my PSN is, and she gives us their name. So yeah, that's kind of cool. And it sounds like around about, you're around level 20.
I'm hitting 33 now, but then I suppose, when did we get the email? Was it a few days ago?
This was middle of November.
Oh Christ, yeah, it must have leveled up by that point by now.
It was a while back.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, definitely doing that when I read the email.
Cool. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Daniel.
Thank you very much. Yeah, good email.
Our final piece of correspondence is from Monjaden. Who said, like Paddy, I tried this game over and over again, restarting characters and giving up after a few minutes. Finally, I got to a point where I decided to give the game a serious heave-ho due to a lack of cash and waiting for Dark Souls 2 to come out after finishing Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1. I got this game on PS Plus for free, and boy was it worth it. When I seriously gave this game my all, I got a lot farther than I had in my first few attempts. I felt so heroic and epic after slaughtering my first Cyclops, and then the Hydra appeared, and after a few tries I managed to beat it. Getting to Grand Soren Castle was amazing, and coming to the gigantic hole with the Cthulhu monster locked underground, I nearly shat myself. After Dark Souls 2 came out, I became disinterested in it again, because I had more friends to play with on other games, but I would love to boot it back up and possibly finish it. If either of you are interested in hiring my pawn, give me a friend request on the PSN. I think I'm the right level range, and if I get someone to play with, I would definitely start playing again. So yeah, I think that highlights something as well. I'm wondering if the buzz for the game was given a bit of an extra kick by it turning up free on PlayStation Plus. Because a lot of people would have played it that might not have ordinarily gone near it and started obsessing.
I have the disc version, but I've been playing the Plus version just because it's on there and it's good to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's helped because I've been sitting on the sofa. I haven't got to get up and go do stuff. I'm more likely just to press something that's good to go. And now that is good to go. Sold. Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Done. It means I can leave Dark Souls 2 in the drive as well. So.
Right, I shall set this question for anyone who is listening and wants to give us some feedback. Christmas games. What are you asking for? What are you hoping to get? And
do you have any plans to play any particular game over Christmas?
Yeah, and also, have you got, what would you say is your favourite memory of a Christmas game? I mean, I mentioned the stuff near the start of the podcast about me with survival horror stuff, strangely enough. But yeah, might be a story from recent times, or it might be one from your youth. So tell us about what presses you're hoping to get, why it is that you're looking forward to playing them, and your excitement for Christmas. And we will read them on the show where we reveal our games of the year.
Absolutely. And actually, that's handy because that segues really, really nicely. Really, really nicely into our next chunk of things we're going to talk about.
Chunkness!
Okay, so some of you who went on the internet in the last week or so may have noticed that the original Sony PlayStation, the old grey machine, 20 years old now. Motherfucker's old. There was lots of cool stuff floating around. There was the special grey PS1 coloured PS4 they released, which, oh good gravy, I want so much. There was the PlayStation Experience show with that really good keynote thing that happened, which I sat there and watched with my dinner and was just giggling like a child the entire time. The wonderful Adam Boyes back on stage, just killing it again. Miyazaki came on, and the very first thing he did was do a little sort of little laugh at the start. Which was kind of
when
nice.
Miyazaki came on, I put on Twitter, I was like, proof of God, and then just got loads of retweets. It's awesome.
Yeah, but the little sort of when he first gets on stage, it's like, you're a cool guy.
Awesome seeing, like,
more of No Man's Sky, which, dear God, why didn't they end on that game, not that stupid thing that Jaffe's making?
Have you seen, to interject on that one, there's a Game Informer video where Sean Murray talks about No Man's Sky, and it's incredible. He shows how it works and talks about the tech and things like how people making Star Wars games have asked him sort of, how are you doing this?
I have not seen that yet, but I will, because I am really so very, very sold on that already. Name your price and I will pay it.
I'll send you the link, but it's awesome. And he was even saying that he's had professors of physics and chemistry wanting to use the game to teach.
Wow.
To show, because a lot of these planets are the life that's indigenous to the planet, and is based around the atmosphere and the chemistry and all these sort of things within the planet. There are professors that want to use it to teach, because rather than it being like slides and textbooks and stuff, it's incredibly visually engaging to get people thinking about the God equation, I guess, and sort of how life emerges from chemistry. So that's really kind of cool, but it's awesome. And I also saw one which was a little older. It was from back E3 time, and it's a conversation that Sean Murray has with your old friend Ted Price.
Ooh.
And that's a good little natter as well.
But what I like about Sean Murray, he always looks like he's just about to cry. He's the humblest man I think I've ever seen take a stage.
Because like the guy at Game Informer says, like, "Are you a genius?" And he said, like, "No." He says we're probably too stupid to have sat back and thought that what we were doing wasn't a good idea.
Yeah.
He says it was like being on a being on a sort of steam train and you're just shoveling coal in. He says, and then somebody else alongside me is shoveling coal in, and we're eventually just shouting at each other as we're racing along the tracks. But he comes across as really humble, really, really passionate about what he's doing, and he never dodges a question either.
No.
And it's a four-man team, for crying out loud. And do you know that none of the stuff that's happening is on the disk? It's all being generated within those seconds.
Love it. Love it. And
Seriously,
I love that his presence, it did cap off really nicely. Like, a really, like, fun show.
Yeah.
It was amusing. Like, when they showed the Street Fighter 4 thing, and Adam Boyce is going, what, you expected something else?
I mean, when you came down to visit me, we, myself, you, and Laura all had this big chat about the fact that Sony are losing a little bit of momentum, and that it's great for the consumer that Microsoft and Sony are really, really going for each other, and Nintendo are on a high at the minute as well. But in particular, Microsoft seem to be ballparking it in the minute, and even the two of you were saying like, this is a little bit bizarre, and I think that Sony ballparked that conference. It was brilliant, and it was nice to see as well Microsoft acknowledge that it was a great conference, and congratulations to our friends at Sony and stuff.
This is a really nice sort of show to do as well, because it was for the fans. You were getting people cheering everything, which you don't really get like the E3s. People tend to stay quiet because they're writing their articles in the audience. It was much more kind of like, this is for like you lot. And I'd quite like to have been, that sort of thing I'd like to have been there for, because it's like, do something like that in Europe, please.
Let's face it, I mean, Sony ballparked E3 a couple of years ago, and then fucked up a degree of E3 this year with all that television stuff that could have been there for
half an hour of Brian Bendis.
Yeah, and I think that they really nailed this stuff. So.
And seeing Shuhei popping up in Super Time Force, yeah. And there's so many of the little indie games, the building the list segment they did, where they're just sort of taking suggestions from people on Twitter and stuff, and saying, "Get this on the PS4," and they're going, "Okay."
I thought that was awesome.
That's what I wanted. Awesome. Yeah, Gang Beasts, motherfucker. Oh, I played it at Gamescom. I cannot wait to play some more in multiplayer. It's dumb, punchy, plastic fun, and exactly the kind of dumb thing that would be a massive hit at like. Just in the background of any social event, just have four plastic putty men punch each other. But yeah, the whole show was happy and smiley, and I left it with a big old grin on my face, except for the little bit at the end with that Jaffe game, which was a nice idea, but I think I'm not a fan of how it's been executed.
Yeah, he came across as a bit of a knob end as well.
Yeah, fucked hard. Yeah, good. Okay, moving on.
Bye.
Right, bye, Jaffe. I liked your God of War game, but
I only saw half of the Game Awards from the night before, but they seemed pretty much on point. I quite enjoyed what I saw.
Well, yeah, I didn't see any of that stuff. I didn't watch any of it
because the previous year was a disaster. The one where they seemingly held it in somebody's back room and nobody was cheering for the announcements, and it just seemed like budget constraints, and it was really, really painful.
Hey, look at this trailer. Look at this trailer. Jeff Keighley looked bored.
Jeff Keighley this year looked genuinely excited, and he nailed it.
Good.
And while I'd sort of missed the first half because of work shifts and being tired and passing out and stuff, I enjoyed the bits that I saw. So yeah, it was neat, and having Nintendo there and Sony there and stuff was pretty cool. But
yeah, but we digress because that's not the link I was going for, but it happened.
Yeah.
The link I was going for. You were talking about the Christmas games, and I'll give you somewhere to start. I've got a few.
But do you want to save these for that show when we get to the people's end?
These are all PlayStation 1 specific moments, and I've just realised that a lot of them happened to fall on Christmas.
Yeah, fair play.
Yeah, I've written them all down already. I thought, actually, that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. Obviously, PS1 turned 20. It was the first serious console I had. I had a Master System before that, which I really enjoyed. But I think the PS1 was the first machine I had that you took. Yeah, okay. I think I'm a gamer now. A lot of the best memories I've got of that machine were from Christmas. first Christmas I got the thing. The 2 games I got with it, Actua Soccer 1, remember that? And the original Ridge Racer as well, which had fully 1 track. It was 4 variants of 1 track. But it doesn't matter because I played the living shit out of it anyway. And that magical demo disc that had the T-Rex on it. Did you have that demo disc?
I did not. I didn't have a PlayStation 1 for quite some time.
God, oh my God. Okay, so I had to explain how good this was at the time. So you pop it in and you've got your demo disc and it's got a few demos of things that have come out, like like the first Wipeout was on there. Tunnel B1, I think was the name of this game. The Hercules movie game, which actually turned out to be quite good.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, but it also had these 2 sort of tech demo things on it. One was a manta ray and one was a T-Rex. And what it gave you was basically a big sort of 3D T-Rex just having a walk, just having a little walk. And the buttons on the pad would make it do different things. So like L1 and R1 would make him swing his head left and right. The X button, I think, would make him open his mouth. Other buttons would make the camera spin around. You could zoom in, zoom out, sort of make him sort of do a little wobble with his head. I spent hours playing with that thing, making him talk. Going, rah, 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 I'm T-Rex, rah, 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 rah. I was about 12 at this point, so I was stupid. Wait, hang on, 10? Yeah. Okay, I was closer to 10, which explains a lot. But I spent rather too long with these, and they were really well modelled, considering that's running on a PS1. I mean, obviously it's the only thing that was being running at the time, but that thing looked space age, like coming from the strict, sort of graphics of the Master System, which were nice but not world changing. I skipped the Mega Drive generation and went straight to the PS1, and it's like this is insane. Why this looks incredible? Blew my fucking mind. That thing did. And that was and then I remember my dad playing Actua Soccer with me. And I just really wasn't good at it. This is back when I was 10 and still thought I actually liked football. Before I kind of realised that actually no, I don't like this. I just like it because everyone else does. But Ridge Racer was the one. Ridge Racer was the motherfucking game. And then made a lot of stupid purchases after that. I bought. You heard of a game called Rascal?
Yeah.
I bought that with actual money, and I bought the Fantastic Four side-scrolling game, which was shocking as well. But there's a reason I'm telling you about these shit games I bought, because I took these 2 shit games to Channel Satellite, which was our local game trading shop, and I traded them for a copy of Metal Gear Solid.
Ooh, that's the beginning of the future, that is.
That is basically the point where that is the moment I think I realised that games could be more than just shoot the man.
That's future juice.
Honestly, it changed the way I look at video games when I got that, because obviously the magazine's been raving about it. I was like, oh, it looks really, really good, and I tried the little demo out, and I thought, oh, this is amazing. But then you get the full game, and it's just idea. It throws it out. It wasn't like anything else. It was cinematic. It had the balls to go on these half an hour long cutscenes. You're like, what is going on here? It's full, 3D rendered world. There's so many ideas, and sneak. I'd never tried to sneak in a game before. I'd never realised that you didn't have to run forward holding the shoot button down going, You could be quiet. You could use distraction. You could mess about with things. You could play with the guards and make them go places you want them to go and run around the other side.
Life-changing, mate.
It was life-changing. Like, the bosses were all, characters. They all had personalities. They weren't just big guy with gun. Okay, one of them is a big guy with a gun, but he's got more to him than that.
It's not the point.
Yeah, but they were more than that. They actually cared about, that you had enough screen time with them to kind of get where they were coming from. And a couple of them, you kill them, you feel genuinely sad. When you've killed them, you think, oh, shit, man. The battlefield, dude. Lots of talking about the battlefield in that game. But yeah, Metal Gear 1, and I bought it over a summer holiday. And I believe I played it something like 8 or 9 times in a row over that summer holiday. It was the only thing I played. Just straight through. And I still bust out that game from time to time. The GameCube remake can fuck off. Original and best, yo. But yeah, no, that's why I brought up those shitty games, because it basically brought me the game that changed my entire life. But yeah, I've got a few more, and these are all from Christmas, and this is really really weird. The PS1 was a very Christmas console for me. I remember getting really excited about Tekken 3, and getting that for Christmas, and having every single character unlocked within 2 hours. I pretty much got it, went upstairs to my room, sat down, and didn't move for possibly 5 hours in a row, which was a lot back when I was little. And this is on Christmas Day as well, so this is literally getting it going, yay, and vanishing. I'm having my mates round to play Tekken Ball, which was the volleyball simulator in Tekken 3. And you've got a giant beach ball, and you're basically attacking the ball, and the aim is to get the ball, on the ground in your opponent's thing, or to hit them with the ball. Hours spent playing that. And again, it was a Christmas game, and I was like, oh, look at the Tekken 3. Another Christmas moment. The year that Final Fantasy IX came out, I'd played 7. I liked 7. I played 7. I hadn't got around to 8 at this point. But I'd asked Mum and Dad for the latest one, for 9. And they're like, oh, okay, we'll put it on the list, whatever. And I was shopping in our local town centre, and I saw a copy of Final Fantasy VIII, like the week before Christmas. And it was like a £5 or something. It was something stupid. And I was like, I've got to buy that. I've got to buy it. Yeah, brilliant. Grabbed it there and then. Went home. That's a mum. Oh, you have a good day, did you? I had a lovely day. Yeah, I just bought this. And her face just dropped. Because the box art looks similar. It's a white box with the word Final Fantasy on it. And I saw her face drop. And she was like, I thought you said you wanted that for Christmas. I was like, no, this is the old one. And she went, oh, okay. And just acted like it was nothing. But I knew. And then I got to act all surprised when I was like, oh, look, Final Fantasy IX. Woohoo! I remember getting some money for Christmas another year and using that money to buy the first Soul Reaver.
Okay.
After that astonishing demo that came out with the PlayStation magazine, and having that thing just blow my fucking mind, that you could shift the world and the entire world around you would move. And like, I'd never seen anything like that before. I didn't realise that the world you were stood in could move outside of, a block moving up and down. The entire thing just kind of goes and kind of melts. Honestly, like the big grandiose Shakespeareanness of it. I can still see the opening cutscene in my head. I can still say all the words along with it. It's ingrained in my damn skull. But yeah, again, that was another brilliant Christmas. Just sitting, just playing that motherfucker to death about 3 times in a row as well. So I really, really got involved in the whole the world building of it, and the fact that it was, grandiose and had this weird sort of backstory, and it was a bit time travel-y, and not everything was completely clear. And the bad guy is the hero of the last game. What? And just enjoying sort of learning about Blood Omen. I didn't pick up Blood Omen until many, many years later, back in the PS3 years, but the appreciation of it was so much greatly improved because I'd played everything since that point, and it's like, this is where it all came from. And playing it to think, well, hang on, that game turned into Soul Reaver. How? How did this 2D sprite game turn into this 3D technical powerhouse? Like, I didn't believe it. I just didn't believe it. I was like, well, there must have been something between those. And no, there wasn't.
There was something really cool on Chat Very Good when they were talking about sort of what the PlayStation did, and they were saying that it actually seemed dangerous. And that even, I've got the PS4, PS1 startup theme on my PS4 at the minute, but
as have I. Does that noise not give you a little tingle?
It's still awesome, and it still takes me by surprise a little bit every time it boots up, because I was used to it kind of doing the chidly chidly chang.
Yeah, do you find that you sit there and wait for it to finish before you move the cursor around?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt it. Just give it a sec, and then just make the at the end.
It is kind of sinister and wonderful and dangerous. And
fucking orgasmic is what it is.
Steady on, lad.
Guangjing.
I came to the PS1 sort of quite a long time after everyone else, and it was my return to gaming in a way as well, because I'd been out of gaming for a long time. I was doing band stuff and I was gigging and things, and music was my jam. Sort of after the Amiga, I kind of passed over like Mega Drive and SNES completely. It's just I was doing other stuff at that point. But
you were seeing other hobbies.
Yeah, well, the biggest memories of PS1, sort of looking back, are there's a bit in the first Tomb Raider where you, and it was the first time I'd really felt a degree of vertigo in a game, and it was like a massively high tower with different sections inside that were like Thor and different sort of Norse rooms inside with puzzles, and there was a real feeling that for the first time, if I jumped off and went to a lower bit, that as to whether I'd grab on or not, and this real feeling of I was really, really high up. And I played that game to the soundtrack of Natalie Imbruglia's first album, on repeat. And for me, like at that point, it might the entire album might as well have been sung by Lara Croft.
Wow.
So, and there was one song in particular that was really sort of quite muted, and it sounded like swimming underwater. So when that came on, when Lara was swimming underwater, where most of the time I was ending up holding my breath at the same time as she was swimming, was a big deal. I remember kind of Resident Evil 2. Right, there was a guy I used to know called Brendan, and Brendan lived. We were friends for a while, but he ended up moving into the flat above me. And I was waiting with Resident Evil 2 until it was dark to play it, and Brendan started playing it straight away. And Brendan had this thing whereby he wouldn't sit in a chair in his living room. He would crouch in front of the TV with his plaid, which meant that when he got scared or he jumped, he would fall back onto his floor, my ceiling. So every now and again I'd hear this like on the ceiling, and I'd like grabbing a broom, going like bang bang, ha 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 ha, you twat.
You got scared, lol.
So there was that, but also you know that Uga Chanka song that's on Guardians of the Galaxy?
Oh yeah.
That Hooked on a Feeling. That song genuinely terrifies me. To the point where I feel unnerved, inhumanly unnerved. And that comes back to a moment in Tomb Raider 2 where you go into this room and there are all these Neanderthals that are behind cages. And they're all sort of banging on the bars of the cage, like smacking on the edge of them. And you climb above all these cages, and there's a lever. You pull the lever, and all the lights go out in the room. And I lit a flare, and as soon as I lit it, basically pulling that lever hadn't just turned the lights out, it had opened the cages. And the Neanderthals were climbing above the cages, and the first point that I knew about it was when, at the moment that I lit a flare, one of them punched me in the face and went like, whoo! And I've never done this in my life before, and I'm not quite sure how it existed in the world of physics, because it seems looking back at it like it was something from the Matrix. Like where I went whoo, and like threw my pad out in front of me, but also threw my body back into the chair as if it was some sort of massive crash bag, like an airbag or something. I went, whoo, and like threw my pad across the room, and I was genuinely terrified. And so when that song then came on, I think it was something like Ally McBeal.
Yes,
with
it
like
was.
A dancing baby. It came on. My brain just went. Even before I acknowledged that it was the Neanderthal moment, my brain just went, "You're in danger. You're in absolute danger." I was inhumanely unsettled. Memories of losing myself in, I want to say Alundra. That was it.
Oh, and that was the one that was kind of like Zelda, wasn't it?
Well, that's there was a guy I was in a band with at the time who was like, "Oh yeah, this is really like Link to the Past," and I was like, "What's that?" I'd never played a Zelda, so I lost a lot of time in Alundra. So yeah, they're kind of my biggest standouts really, and obviously this when Final Fantasy VII came out, that was just a Hollywood moment because I'd seen it on the back of comics for about like 6 months.
See, I've got more as well. Like, I remember vividly the action replay card,
Okay.
but not using it for cheats per se.
Mm-hmm.
Using it to play a hooky copy of Tony Hawk's 2. Because you got a spring and you put it underneath the lid so the lid thinks it's closed. You start a game up with the action replay card in. It gets past the kind of the boing jing bit at the start, goes to the action replay menu. You then take out your perfectly legal game, put in your hooky copy of Tony Hawk's 2, and then start the game. And it worked.
Hooky,
yeah, a little bit, ooh, little bit.
I've only heard that term. I've heard the term playing hooky from school.
Yeah, not quite kosher.
I've never heard it applied to a copy of Tony Hawk's obtained by illegal means.
Tony Hawk's 2.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, that's very important.
Yeah.
But yeah, God, seriously, hours. I think of everyone I knew's life was lost to Tony Hawk's 2. At that point, it was perfect. Like Tony Hawk's 1 was good. Tony Hawk's 2 was bang near perfect.
Oh, I remember the soundtrack on that.
Oh, just the best soundtrack as well. Yeah. Like some of those games, like you hear the song and you think Tony Hawk. I've still got those soundtracks downloaded somewhere.
Was that one of the first games with like a full super band soundtrack?
It was, yeah. The Tony Hawk's ones always had that kind of soundtrack, and there's a few other games that kind of flirted with it. I remember Duke Nukem Land of the Babes. Don't ask.
All right, then.
Had a soundtrack entirely done by Static X.
Okay.
Which was you look at it and like the advert for the game is like the band and then a picture of the game and you're looking at it going, why? Like I didn't get it when I was that age. I was like, I don't understand. One of the driving factors behind me getting Sledstorm, actually, which is a skidoo racing game, was it had Rob Zombie's Dragula on the soundtrack, and like that's a good song.
The follies of youth.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure my wife Laura did the same thing. Mm-hmm. We still can't bring up that game without both going Dragula at each other. What else was there that had really good soundtracks? Loads of PS1 games had amazingly good soundtracks. Ridge 4 had a brilliant like soundtrack, but it was one from itself. Like its soundtrack was great, and like I didn't mind listening to it over and over and over again because it was boot. And again, I've downloaded that somewhere on my computer, and I can put that on just to kind of, you know, if I'm playing another driving game and it's not quite clicking, put the Ridge 4 music on. It's like, oh, okay, yep, this is better now. I like it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I loved me some goddamn Tony Hawk. Like the soundtrack of that was perfect. Speaking of soundtracks, did you ever play the Italian Job game?
No.
See, now this is that weird thing of a movie tie-in that came out 30 years after the movie. Was completely linked to, you know, the films. It was the 60s version, not that piece of shit one that they brought out in 2002. It was based on the original Italian Job film. And you drove a Mini around like a sort of open worldish kind of London. Way before like GTA had done that. It was 3D. You drive around like Driver.
Okay.
It was a bit like Driver. And yeah, you go on your little missions. And it was free roam as well if you wanted, so you could just take any car you wanted and just bollock about. But the reason it was great, there were two reasons it was great. The Italian Job mission itself, one of the greatest missions I have ever played. It is perfect. It is so good. You are literally the back mini of the 3 minis, and you are doing the Italian Job mission, all of it. Start to finish. It's about 15 minutes, I think it takes. It's a long time. It's like the longest mission of the whole game. It is a long mission. You can fuck it up by driving badly, because if you hit too many things, your wheels fall off. So you end up kind of listing to the left for the entire time. But you do all of the moments from the film. You know, you're kind of nipping in sort of on the pedestrian walkways. You go up onto the roof and kind of go around the test track a couple of times. You do the bit where you drive through the mall and kind of skidding around really slidey corners. You do the bit where you drive onto the back of the bus. It's flat out perfection. Mm-hmm. Like I got to the end. It taken me a few tries. Put the pad down. I was like, that was perfect. Done. It cannot be better than that. It was amazing. that's one reason why it's great. Second reason why it's great, it had a really, really good party mode, where what it would do, you would set challenges. And it would be like pass the pad, so you take turns, and it would be like, okay, right, first, drive through these cones, don't hit any. And you'd all do it, and it would give you a time, and it would sort of work out who the winner was, and you could sort of set up tournaments. And I remember playing this with my mum, because she was like, oh, Italian job, and I think my mum and my dad and my sister were all like, yeah, we'll have a go. And the mission was really easy. Very first mission, you drive down a road, park within some cones. Mm-hmm. Really simple. The cones are just, in the arch of a bridge. They're underneath the arch of a bridge. You literally just drive under this arch and stop. My mum puts her foot down, drives the car as fast as she can, hits the wall 6 feet to the left of the hole. It was perfection. And then, she just put the pad down and went, I'm not very good at this, am I? I went, no, you're really not, Mum. No. But yeah, that was glorious multiplayer, but not sort of moment, sort of past the pad. And a few games had like kind of stupid moments. I remember playing Smackdown a lot with my pal Martin. We used to go around his house late at night and just sit there and play Smackdown until the wee hours of the morning before getting up to go do paper rounds together. Mm-hmm. But we, you do the thing. You make your own characters, or I think we used to pick the Dudley Boys, and then we do that. You could do a really good co-op season mode on SmackDown 2, and you'd both kind of, you pick your tag team, and then it would just make matches for you, and you'd have this little sort of story mode to play. And it was quite bare bones. As I say, it's on the PS1, so there's only so much it could do, but it was a hell of a way to spend a couple of hours, a couple of afternoons. Mm-hmm. Just dicking about trying to put people through tables. It was amazing, and just spending the entire time as well just trying to hit these double team moves that were notoriously impossible to manage. But when you did, you felt like a god. Mm-hmm. Like you get him in the corner, and you get on the other side, and oh my god, we're gonna do it, yeah! And then we put the pads down and forget about it, and then nearly die because we weren't paying attention. But yeah, there were so many like weird little games from the PS1 that I remember, like things like Bishy Bashy Special. My favourite mini game of all time. Mm-hmm. Like Fear Effect, this weird cinematic kind of horror kind of thing. Mr. Driller, a game about drilling holes in the floor. Vib Ribbon.
I was going to say Mr. Driller's not a new one. That one goes way back.
It does, but it was my first time with it anyway. I was like, well, what's this? Vib Ribbon, the game that would make levels based on your CD.
Yeah, it's just got a PSN release as well, hasn't it?
It has. I wonder if the CD stuff still works with it.
Presume so.
Because that was like the whole point of the game. Like that was the whole reason you played it, to do the weird CD stuff. Mm-hmm. There was a game called Hogs of War, which I played a shitload of, which was a bit like Worms, but it was 3D. All the pigs were from different countries, and they were all voiced by Rick Mail. Just doing various forms of accent. Like German one, sort of calling them Schweins. Mm-hmm. Ridiculous game, but a hell of a good laugh. I think that's why I still love the PS1. That's why I've still got a raft of like 30, 40 odd PS1 games still sitting there. That's why I still get them out, because there was so much weird, inventive stuff from that era. Mm-hmm. It was one of those perfect eras where the tech was getting to the point where you could do something weird, make a full game out of it, but it wouldn't cost the earth.
Yeah.
Whereas I think we're at a point now with, sort of the big releases where it's got to be, a marketing hit, or you're not going to get another one.
Yeah.
Whereas, in the PS1 days, you could put something weird and shit out. The same with the PS2. You could try a weird game like Dark Cloud and see if it worked. You could try, Guitar Hero, for instance. You didn't have to worry about a studio going bankrupt because they did a game that didn't sell well, because they didn't cost that much to develop. Whereas... Yeah. It was for me, it was a golden age, it really was. And I tried so many weird games, Ridge Racer Type 4, I spent hours playing that, which was, I didn't expect to find myself, falling into a game like that. Developed, as I think everyone did, a deep appreciation for the Final Fantasies of that era on those, whereas now they're sort of turning into sort of overblown shitfests. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, the PS1 it was a golden era for me, and it was, I think, that it was what turned me into a gamer. What turned me from, oh, this is nice, to this is what I want to spend money on. This is my hobby. Mm-hmm. And say, to 20 years old, I will raise a glass to you, you old codger.
Well, I mean, kind of my equal touchstone on that has had a bit of a bit of a renaissance
Hmm.
of late as well. Last week I went to see a documentary called From Bedrooms to Billions,
Hmm.
which it was originally kickstarted and was a documentary about the UK gaming scene, from the early computers like the ZX80 and the ZX81,
Hmm.
um, following through to the uprising of the Spectrum and the Commodore and the Amstrad in the UK, and then going on towards moving on to consoles, and the huge leap in finance it took to then get things approved and released on cartridges, and
Hmm.
even the move on to the likes of the PlayStation 1, and suddenly teams of 3 or 4 on games becoming like teams of hundreds. And sadly, whereas the US was perfectly positioned with financiers to help big studios over there take the leap, that wasn't the case in the UK, and a lot of teams ended up dying. But so I'm incredibly passionate about the Commodore 64. I still listen to the music all the time. I'm really passionate about the SID chip and the remix scene as well. So it was nice to see things that I really didn't know about, like back in the days when certainly when the Spectrum first took off, you couldn't buy games in the shops, and that people were making them and sort of selling them in mail away adverts in the back of like computer magazines and stuff, and selling them at these sort of big computer game fairs. And eventually it was a guy from UK retailer WH Smith's who decided to try and rally around some of these games and actually get them sold in the shops. WH Smith's were the first place to start selling games. And there were a lot of shops, independent shops, that started opening up to sell games, and they had kids that would come in and bring the games that they'd written to show them off. And a lot of these little shops ended up becoming software houses because like there were a number of the kids that were coming from schools that would constantly want to bring their game in to get it sold. They'd be like, you get your eye on a couple of them and go, yeah, well, when things step up, we'll have you, and we'll have you, and they started employing them and stuff. But these computer fairs were apparently so popular. There was one developer that said, we got down there, and literally from the off, they opened the doors and people flooded in, and £20 were being thrust at us from all sides, and we were grabbing cassettes and grabbing the £20 and just swapping them out. And he said, I kid you not, back in the hotel room after that weekend, we must have had £500,000 in that hotel room.
Fucking hell.
Which is insane.
That's
But
insanity.
yeah, it went through lots of stuff, interviewing like legendary musician Rob Hubbard was on there, and there were loads and loads of people from that time. David Braben was on there, who did Elite back in the day and has just done Elite Dangerous. Like loads and loads of people from the UK gaming industry, and it was a pleasure to watch. It was a cinema cut that I saw at the Broadway Cinema in Nottingham, and I believe the home release is a lot longer. I think there's 2.5 hours worth of extras on the Blu-ray as well. So that was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. But that was kind of the first touchstone to the past that I had in a week. The other one being directly related to my love of Commodore 64 music. That on Twitter, 20 minutes before a Kickstarter ended, somebody tweeted that a guy called Matt Gray was doing a Kickstarter. Now, Matt Gray was a Commodore 64 musician who created what I consider the greatest video game piece of music ever, which is Central Park from The Last Ninja 2. And The Last Ninja 2 soundtrack is astonishing. The stuff that he did for a number of the games we worked on, like Dominator and Driller, they're like absolute masterpieces. And like I say, I really love the Commodore 64 remix scene at the minute. I download a lot of that stuff. I listen to it all the time. But Matt Gray was doing a Kickstarter to remake a lot of his stuff. And the interesting thing is that a lot of people, as indicated in From Bedrooms to Billions, a lot of people dropped out of the industry that were from back then. Mm-hmm. But Matt Gray went on to form Xenomania, who write loads and loads of pop songs. They wrote loads of stuff for like Round Round for the Sugar Babes and The Promise for Girls Aloud and all that sort of stuff. And he's one of the founding members of that. So I was like, God. So yeah, I sat in front of this Kickstarter, and there were four examples of the stuff he was doing. And considering the remixes that I've heard of, probably people with Pro Tools and stuff in their bedrooms, and this is someone with a uber expensive professional setup. And one of the pieces of music that was on show was Central Park from The Last Ninja 2, and I pressed play on it, and it starts off sort of in a really unusual way, and it just kicks into this phenomenal version of the original. And I sat there, and a lump went in my throat, and I started crying, and I literally caught my breath, did that kind of thing, and bit my lip, and just sat there barely breathing as tears flooded down my face, just listening to the sheer wonderment of this remake. And he went on to he showed examples of him covering Rob Hubbard's Sanctuary music. There's a piece from Stormlord, which is originally by Euro and Tal, who's one of my biggest musical heroes. And I just listened to these four. I was like, yeah, you're having £35 of my money. And the 35 quid covers a soundtrack covering his and other people's stuff. But if it went over a certain amount, he was going to do the Last Ninja 2 soundtrack completely from scratch again, which it did. I think he was asking for £25,000 for it, and it went to something like 85. This Kickstarter. So and from the bump I'd seen on the page, I think he maybe didn't realise that his work was as popular as it was, and he'd started listening to some of the remixes. Had obviously got a bit of a flavour for going into his past and touching in on with some of the technology that he's got in the modern day, but it came across as incredibly reverential to the original, but not in a way that hampered it. Just the musical fidelity that was there was incredible. I kid you not, within this last fortnight or so that I've been listening to those four samples, I've still listened to them absolutely every day. I'm in awe. So yeah, I got those two sort of nice separate little touchstones back to the start of my love of gaming, and done something that's still a hugely important part to me. So
it's been a very looking backing sort of week, hasn't it?
I've enjoyed doing this show.
Yeah, it's been nice.
I enjoy doing the shows anyway, but it's nice when we get to have a night, because we haven't had a chat really since my birthday and stuff. So
which was 3 weeks ago now, isn't it?
And even then was sort of wandering around Tiger and going into coffee shops and just, I don't know, it was a bit in fast forward, but it was a good time, and it was
being baffled by Black Friday.
It was what it was. God, don't even go there. Cyber Monday. Jesus. But yeah, thank you very much for listening. If you've made it this far, send us in your Christmas game memories. What you're fancying for this year as well. Why you want it. What you loved about the past stuff. Just email us at twinhumanitiespodcast@gmail.com. What?
I thought you were going for the Twitter handle then by accident.
No, you know where we both are on the Twitter. You know what the Twin Humanities on the Twitter as well. Send us stuff. We'll read it out.
We really will. We really like getting emails.
So the next show will be our favourite games of the year. Send us in your favourite games of the year as well. Just send us stuff. We'll have a massive chat between us, and maybe you'll be listening somewhere else, and you'll be like, "Oh, there's a new episode of All the Humanities," and we'll be like, "We're reading your email, and we'll be thanking you, and we'll be like saying hello and things." I don't know why I'm doing that voice.
It's good. Keep it.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you all again, for listening. This show wouldn't exist without you lot. So yeah. What was that?
Bye. It was a really scrumptious kiss, like halfway between a snog and eating an apple.
Okay, cool. Yeah. To all of you.
Your version just sounded like somebody stretching a cat through time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.